Finally, for some real, tangible news to share. Hello, it's the 19th of June 2023, and welcome to my podcast number 8. And this morning, the real summer vacation begins for us who have kindergarten or who have students in our household. So from here on, we're off to a different kind of adventure. What kind of life have the daughter and the descendants of Clearning Mendiola talaga, together with former husband Clara Y talaga Sr., made? What kind of life have we made so far while living in Lucena City? This will be carried over to our other destinations and to hopefully more travels and more exposure to the different perks of living this life. But it must not be separated from the documents issued to us. So it's going to be a very busy, hectic summer vacation with intermittent rainfall for us as we trek out of the house to explain the contents of my letters in the past. It used to be so boring that all I do is recite the facts in writing and hoping against hope that due attention and actions result from them. Unnecessary step. No, it's not unnecessary, but they are necessary steps as the dates and the proof of receipt serves as queue numbers according to ARTA, and other administrative offices of the government. I don't know what the equivalent of ARTA in other countries, being the anti-red tape agency, which is somewhat a self-explanatory title of an office here in the Philippines. The rehearsals being provided by such as this, what I'm doing now, my podcast, it's actually teaching my person to articulate from my articulation in my mind, which are translated to my writing, which must now be orally given. The verbal recitations of the version out of the printed copies of the papers that I have submitted. So this is also covered by the freedom of expression, which is an important right with the limitations, because we cannot infringe on the rights of others, the privacy, we cannot slur their names or reputations. So I should also be mindful of where the limitations of the freedom of expression. So these rehearsals are important first step. But to serve us some good, there must be two-way conversations resulting from this sharing. So I must be ready also to face the curveball in the form of questions that can be so tough and can catch the weaknesses in my position. That is to be expected. If I cannot answer them from my kababayan, from my compatriots, without the language and culture barrier, how much more difficult it will be in different situations. Like, sir, ma'am, this is the groundwork of a grandmother about to relate to her granddaughter's consciousness and personal knowledge. Actually, not granddaughters, also grandson. The consciousness and personal knowledge, the titles of the work her grandmother created as a writer and artist. I know this is an internal matter where we exercise our civil liberties, how best we raise our kids within the confines of our family. But precedents indicate that there are legal components to this. They will grow up with this belief to become a legal certainty when they reach the age of majority. Or am I to assume that my progeny will not share my genes, which goes without saying that I shouldn't hope that someday one of them will and can be able to continue in whatever form of art and cultural presentation they have the passion and talent for? Should I stop hoping and dreaming and praying for that? Given the precedent we're in the absence of proof, I was judged so harshly and so instantly as harboring illusions or delusions in the learnings coming from those episodes must not be ignored. Even though I've managed to correct that perception in the presence of proofs that I am able to be issued with, some of the harm had been done already. The source of disruptions cannot be traced at this point in time, and the most we can hope for is to prevent another occurrence. The harmful intrigues had ceased to become legitimate as soon as some of the errors in my personal records were corrected. But the remnant of it, why would I allow the same thing to happen to my family? The best interest of a minor child, and in this case, minor children, their best interest entails solving and tackling directly the causes of defamatory rumors and slander that will affect their life as children and will be carried over from the formative years to adulthood as part of mainstream society. This can also discriminate against their chosen career, like how their grandmother had been told, in a manner of saying, not explicitly but implicitly, you cannot be a writer and professional artist because you are this, you are that, and there's no future for you in this industry, in that profession. You must be ready, to concede, to write with a different pen name, something like that. Those are the personal choices, career choices that the person must be allowed to exercise. The law allows that, diba? But somehow the extra constraints and restraints had been very curtailing and very harmful to my profession. So in turn, these are the things that I am watchful. Because instead of growing up in a normal and conducive environment, the confusion of who they are and what legal status they are inheriting. What, baby?
We're going to the dino.
Oh, yes. Sure we are. That's Jewel. It's really... There's a fire. It's just us who are at home. Summer vacation, that's what it is. Going back. So instead of growing up in a normal and conducive environment, the confusion of who they are and what legal status they are inheriting from their ascendants, on top of being the casualty of any discriminatory legal proceedings that can affect the finances of ascendants, which could have provided for their needs, the needs of these helpless minor children of said ascendants. If there had been unsettled or unresolved legal cases that had been that could not be continued in the passing or in the death of my parents, then as their daughter who has a family of my own, I should make sure that, at the very least, their culpability, their good name, and if there are compensations that needed to be paid or apologies that are due to some individuals who deserve them, who deserve acknowledgements for their grievance, I should, in the interest of moving forward, I should be responsible to see them through. So this calls for petition to the family court. What I'm doing now is preparatory to the eventuality that we may have to go to the family court to sort things out. The best interest of the minor children who are the descendants of unrecognized and misidentified ascendants whose intellectual property, among other property, are subject of supposedly all the indications of illegal restraints. There is such thing as universal human rights of the children. So we need the proof that can cross border and be acceptable through the Justice Department and diplomatic channels. And these are the things that are not inside or within the confines of our home. Thus, we have to go out and bring with us the real situation at home. Children are not equipped fully to handle the consequences of damaging rumors emotionally, psychologically, and physically. By not tackling this directly, the immaturity of peers who may unwittingly overhear the retelling of false narratives by the grown-ups can affect the interaction. There is an aberration in the natural course of interaction, of learning with each other. This responsibility falls on the grown-ups, especially those who, like me, have personal experience and knowledge about the aftermath of false allegations. As a child, we may carry over some sorry experience of being bullied as kids, and if we can prevent it, it will go a long way. Prevention is better than treatment. Cure. Even as adults, we don't want to stand out for the wrong reason. That is, if we are not acting in rebellious we are not acting out as rebels against the establishment. Even as children, the antisocial behavior can be manifested. Anyway, naturally, before it worsens into that degree, we want to, as a guardian, we want to get in touch with what's happening when our children are outside of our radar, when they are with like when they are in school or when they are not within our physical presence. So even as adults, we don't want to stand out for the wrong reason. That's the natural tendency. More so as kids, we don't want to be labeled for the abnormality, real and as mere perception. On the other hand, we also don't want to merely exist to please the majority, suppressing our uniqueness just to appease those who can be offended by our personal choice in life. There's also professional jealousy, and there are, Jewel can be envious of what Juanito can do, and Juanito can be envious of, for instance, a gift that only Jewel had received and not him. So we deal with these natural natural disturbances in the harmony within the relationship.
You want to borrow Mom's cell phone?
Okay, you have to let me finish first, okay? Can you wait?
Yes.
Okay. You say yes, Mommy.
Yes, Mommy.
The balance can be found in the provisions of the law that can protect the children, the descendants, and the progeny of those going through the several proceedings here in Lucena City. So I am very specific now. coming from the abstract and the general motherhood statements. So yeah, we have the summer vacation structure that somehow will be different from how it used to be. And all I can say is finally it's here. Hi, this is yours truly, Clarice T, for the second part of the 8th episode of my podcast. Today is the 20th and still the month of June 2023. So I've been trying to regain momentum in the practice of the songs that I want to release, but this cough and cold are making it very difficult. But the good news is that the old remedy that we used to take under the penalty of so much pain from our mother then, because she was the one to get help from herbs and medicinal and other natural remedies for the usual maladies brought about by changing of weather. So my voice is not really up to that, but it can be stressful and it can be frustrating, but I have to contain my impatience. So I want to get on. I want to read an article. This is coming from a government website. PNA, if I'm not mistaken, stands for the Philippine National. I don't know what PNA stands for. Wait. Philippine News Agency, Republic of the Philippines. I also want to say that at this point in time, even the lull is something to be alerted for, because many things are happening, like risk assessment, security assessment for those who will process any case. They are being done with confidentiality, and they are not being shared to the public prematurely. So even this, the preliminaries before a case is filed, it's not something to take lightly. Having said that, I want to read this article by Mr. Benjamin Pulta, April 22nd, 2022, 5:51 p.m. Manila, the Supreme Court, or SC, on Friday affirmed its commitment to address issues relating to the disposition of child and family cases. By the way, the title is Child Rights, Resolution of Cases Guaranteed in Family Courts by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is being quoted in here. On the 25th anniversary promulgation of the Implementing Rules of Republic Act 8369, or the Family Courts Act law, Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo said the judiciary will continue to ensure unhampered access to courts by those who need it most, especially children. He said the Supreme Court will give all the necessary assistance and support to family courts so they can effectively dispense justice and maintain the rule of law when social ills imperil the integrity of the family and rights of the child. A quote from him: "Today, even as we speak, domestic violence, child abuse and neglect, trafficking of persons, and cyber crimes are happening in our midst. We in the judiciary cannot close our eyes to these unabated violations of family and child laws," Gesmundo said in a statement. The Chief Justice noted that during the pandemic, the judiciary made use of technology so that courts nationwide would continue to function and give attention to cases involving women and children, especially those with applications for protection orders. He cited decisions which refined family rights, such as the May 11th, 2021 ruling in the Tan Andal versus Andal case, where the tribunal said psychological incapacity is neither a mental incapacity nor a personality disorder that must be proven through expert opinion. Likewise, on December 7th, 2021, the court revisited the so-called Iron Curtain Law and allowed illegitimate children to inherit from blood relatives. Family courts have exclusive original jurisdiction to hear and decide on criminal cases where one or more of the accused is below 18 years but not less than 9, or where one or more of the victims is a minor at the time of the commission of the offense. Petitions for guardianship, custody of children, habeas corpus in relation to the latter, adoption of children and the revocation thereof, complaints for annulment of marriage, declaration of nullity of marriage, and those relating to marital status and property relations of husband and wife, or those living together under different status and agreements, and petitions for dissolution of conjugal partnership of kin, and petitions for support and or acknowledgement. Other cases that should be handled by family courts are petitions for declaration of status of children as abandoned, dependent, or neglected, voluntary or involuntary commitment of children, suspension, termination, or restoration of parental authority, petitions for the constitution of the family home, cases against minors cognizable under the Dangerous Drugs Act, violations of Republic Act number 7610, or the Special Protection of Children Against Child Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. So that would be Republic Act number 7610, and domestic violence against women and children. In cases of violence among immediate family members in the same household, the family court may issue a restraining order against the accused or defendant upon a verified application of the complainant or the victim for relief from abuse. Under the guidance of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, a Social Services and Counseling Division shall be established in each judicial region as the SC shall deem necessary based on the number of juvenile and family cases. The court, as Mundo said, has always upheld the best interest of the child, consistent with the country's commitment under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, from PNA. So I guess this will refer directly to what we know as the best interest of the child or the children. And generally speaking, the assessment, like whenever the jurisdiction is not allowing for the trial, for the judicial proceeding to be held in that location, in that jurisdiction, the transfer of jurisdiction comes with a rival separating the speculation, the intrigues from real facts of the case, like in the risk assessment, the scenario. These will figure when there are consultations and actually, from unsolicited testimonies about certain things. Pretty much the deciding factor would be what would reach the decision makers who will rule on one trial or one petition to be held in the local jurisdiction. So the transfer of jurisdiction would mean force majeure, and it will not be a dead end, because the declaration of force majeure would entail security risk coming from a source of threat, and it will mean the pinpointing of personalities where it used to be that they just being whispered, but a white paper report, something like that, a white paper investigation will be carried over and will be part of intelligence gathering in the assessment. Like if there would be come another election time, and there would be incidents, those investigations would be revisited again whether the same threat had existed. So this is not light moment to consider. I also want to read the titles of the related stories about this article, like DSWD partners with UP ASEAN body, or ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations body, to improve Philippine social workforce. Another story, new law to enrich parents' understanding on child care, according to DSWD. Creation of special agency push to promote children's welfare. PBBM, that's President Bongbong Marcos, OK's pilot full implementation of DSWD's food stamp program. Solon pushes for enhanced anti-kidnapping mechanism. GHI executive faces kidnap rap over failure to return 3 minors. Bill establishing early learning program for kids pushed. So these are all because and guess what? It's no brainer that those who are in charge over the children's welfare would somehow be come to their own competence and background relating to it, and because kids, they cannot ensure protection over their vulnerability, diba? So until they have reached the age of majority, they would need all the help they can get. So this is it for now, and please tune in for my next podcast. Thank you. So if I'm real, and if my documents are truly registered in the local regulatory offices, then my hold over this runaway, aka or also known as Clarissa, is truly illegal.